It's time for Tony DuMont's Random Reviews, and let's meet our host, who's lit up like a Christmas tree all year round, Tony DuMont!
Thank you, everybody! Thank you watching online, and thank you, Skippy! Welcome back to Tony DuMont's Random Reviews, and happy holidays to all of you, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, the solstice, Festivus for the rest of us, or the Feast of Arglablurg.
The Feast of Arglablurg?
You know, the Feast of Arglablurg. It's in honor of the god Arglablurg, who lives around the star Betelgeuse, has 47 tentacles, and created the universe by burping it into existence. You celebrate by burning garbanzo beans, abstaining from bathing for 6 months, and setting off air raid sirens to bring forth the mothership to take the believers home. Some nice people at the airport told me about it, and I felt obligated to include it. Anyway, a lot of you are asking, Tony, are you going to be reviewing the Sesame Street Christmas special? And I say, which one? There are many to choose from. And you say, the one from 1978. And I say, again, which one? Because yes, Virginia, there were 2 Sesame Street Christmas specials televised in the year of our Lord 1978.
Who's Virginia?
That's not important, Skippy. What is important is that I'm about to review them both. The more familiar special is Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, which first aired on PBS on December 3rd, 1978. It was such a favorite that it re-aired for many years afterward, which caused a bit of confusion for me seeing it for the first time as a wee little DuMont, because how come Mr. Hooper was here and not on the regular show? And why was Maria cheating on Luis with David? It wasn't until later I found out about Mr. Hooper's passing or Maria's relationship history. Still, I can see why this special has endured, aside from it being CTW's only Sesame Street Christmas special for years. Directed, co-written, and executive produced by John Stone, one of the series' original producers, it's definitely Sesame Street at its most heartfelt. It's no wonder the original cast considers this to be their favorite moment from the series. So let's unwrap this holiday treat, shall we? We start with everyone going ice skating, along with life-size versions of Ernie, Bert, the Count, and Cookie Monster. How these Muppets grew in size and lost the ability to move their lips, I don't know, and found quite disconcerting. This introduction goes on for 8 minutes, and along the way, we see Bert as the butt of everyone's antics. Also, a little girl teaches Big Bird to skate, accompanied by what has to be the most tear-jerking arrangement of Feliz Navidad ever. It literally comes to a crashing halt, courtesy of Oscar.
Oscar, you all right?
All right, let's go back and do it again.
Then at long last, we kick off the plot as Oscar dampens Big Bird's Christmas cheer, asking how Santa can fit inside a narrow chimney.
So how's a guy like Santa Claus, who's built like a dump truck, how's he gonna come down all those skinny little chimneys, huh?
It's noteworthy that he didn't ask the obvious question of how Santa can deliver so many toys in one night. Still, it's enough to give Big Bird cause for concern. As he and his newfound friend Patty resolve to find the solution, the grown-ups sing True Blue Miracle about the joys of Christmas. Things like decorations, lights, trees, joy, love, warmth, and all that other good stuff. As in many other Christmas specials, the religious elements are swept aside in favor of the more upbeat, heartwarming, universal parts. Myself, I do not object. And it is a very sweet, moving song that sets the mood. Yet Big Bird remains dispirited, and Oscar is not much help, even cursing him out.
You are, without a doubt, the stupidest.
Do you kiss your mother with that mouth, Oscar? Well, you're a grouch, I suppose you do.
Bird I ever met.
Then Kermit drops by the nest and offers his assistance in this conundrum.
Who knows more about Santa Claus than anybody?
The elves.
Mrs. Claus?
No.
And I thought this was a non-commercial special. I don't care if they let you in every Thanksgiving parade. This is neither the time nor place to plug Macy's.
No. Kids, that's who.
Kids.
Sure.
Yeah, kids.
Right, so I'm just gonna round up some of the guys. We'll go ask some kids. I'll be back in a nonce with the answer.
Kermit.
Yeah?
I'm a kid and I don't know.
And there goes your theory, Kermit. Maybe you should ask your local college's Dean of Santa Studies. And now comes the B-plot. Usually Christmas specials parody well-known holiday tales such as A Christmas Carol, It's a Wonderful Life, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, or in this case, O. Henry's classic short story, The Gift of the Magi. Bert decides to get Ernie a soap dish for Rubber Ducky, and Ernie figures he should get a cigar box to store Bert's paperclip collection.
This is Bert's 1957 Acme. Why, he'd feel just awful if he lost this.
And you carelessly toss that one aside, as if eating those cookies in bed weren't enough. Then Grover and Kermit interview some kids with their own theories, which don't really answer anything.
I don't know. Maybe they'll move.
Next, Linda arrives early to Bob's music class, where she has taught the kids to sign the song they're practicing, Keep Christmas With You. It's a very lovely musical number, and one of the most tender moments in Sesame Street's history. I'm not tearing up. The neighbors are cooking something with onions. I'm about to get even more misty-eyed because right then, Ernie swaps Rubber Ducky for a cigar box at Mr. Hooper's, and then Bert barters his paper clips for the soap dish. Who sells empty cigar boxes anyway? I guess they wouldn't want to encourage smoking. And the low PBS budget explains why Bert and Ernie are apparently penniless. Still, it does show how loyal these two are, parting with their most cherished possessions without hesitation. Then Grover has Billy help him reenacting a visit from Santa, but has trouble leaving the house. Maybe you should exit the way you entered. Oh wait, you never explained that. Which is what we wanted to find out. Then we begin the subplot, with Cookie Monster trying to write a letter to Santa, but foiled by his own appetite. Kermit then relates his findings to Big Bird, and even Patty doesn't accept these ideas. My theory is...
Not another theory, Tony.
Trust me, Skippy, this has some merit. My theory is that Santa's able to deliver all those toys in one night because he's a Time Lord.
A Time Lord? Really?
Well, if time travel can explain how Hermione can take extra classes in Book 3... Oh, about how he fits down the chimney, well... My guess is... Santa has the power to shrink himself.
That's a little far-fetched.
Come on, that would explain how he's able to fit all those toys on his sleigh. Oh great, now we're raising even more imponderables. Then Cookie tries to contact Santa again with a typewriter, but that too falls victim to his lack of restraint. Meanwhile, Big Bird conducts an experiment with Snuffy as Santa, but if Santa can't fit, then the much larger Snuffy wouldn't have a chance. And sure enough, his size exceeds the capacity of the simulated chimney, and Patty facepalms. And so ends Big Bird's scientific endeavors. Bob passes Mr. Hooper on his way to do an errand.
Oh, Mr. Hooper? Yes. Happy Hanukkah?
Thank you, Bob. And a Merry Christmas to you.
Is that all the series could do about Hanukkah? Couldn't they have expanded on that, like, I don't know, more indicators of Mr. Hooper being Jewish? Interestingly enough, the first night of Hanukkah in 1978 did take place on December 24th, so it's not as if they were just paying lip service. Still, wouldn't it have been better to, I don't know, show Hanukkah being celebrated? I know that wasn't the focus of the special, but for a show noted as a model of diversity, I do expect a bit more. Then Oscar sings I Hate Christmas about his disdain for all the joy and cheer the holiday embodies, as he wreaks havoc everywhere, because there's not a whole lot you can wreak. It's a very uncommon verb. It's a funny song, but if you're so opposed to Christmas, then why the hell do you still have your stocking up? Bert and Ernie then exchange gifts early, and unlike in the O. Henry original, before the two can reveal to each other what they gave up, we find that Mr. Hooper's errand was to return their treasures.
Hey, Ernie.
Yep.
Ernie, we didn't get Mr. Hooper anything.
Oh, you're right, Bert.
You're wrong, boys. I got the best Christmas present ever.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
I got to see that everyone got exactly what they wanted for Christmas. Huh?
Oh.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas, Mr. Hooper.
The two then sing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It's not an original, but it still works. All I can say is, aww. I mean that, really.
Merry Christmas, Ernie.
Cookie then tries to call Santa on the phone, but with a similar outcome. With all the advances made in telecommunications since then, one can only imagine what sort of high-tech devices he would have consumed. Then Patty leaves as the snow comes down. We see how Big Bird handles being exposed to the elements, having electric blankets, as Maria will later explain, yet he doesn't even have a chimney, so how would Santa reach him anyway?
Hey, wait a minute. I can find out how he gets down those little bitty chimneys.
Then Cookie relates his troubles to Susan and Gordon.
Me tried to write letter to Santa Claus, but me got hungry and me ate pencil.
Oh, well, don't worry, Cookie Monster.
But me not write letter. Me eat typewriter too.
Oh.
Hi, Cookie! But before Cookie can admit he has a problem, they reassure him, then leave him in a moral quandary.
It might be a good idea if you left him something, too.
Oh, that terrific idea! Yeah. Santa Claus leave me cookies, and me leave Santa necktie.
Well, yeah, you could,
Yeah,
but...
or shaving cream.
Yeah, but, well, you see, most people leave him,
Oh, what? Tell me what?
cookies.
This internal struggle is disregarded as Patty reports Big Bird's disappearance. Big Bird goes to the roof and doesn't catch on that everyone's looking for him.
Someone must be lost. Well, I have more important things to worry about.
Yeah, what's one missing person, more or less? As he falls asleep, still unaware, Maria confronts Oscar and they join the search.
What's the big deal? He lives outdoors all the time anyway.
Now look here, Oscar. Now, the nest is something different. That's his home. He's got an electric blanket there, and he's got heating pads, and he's around all the people that he loves.
A nearly hypothermic Big Bird is too tired to notice the shadow coming over him, which suddenly disappears once he awakens. He then goes inside to warm up, only to have Gordon show them that everyone got their presents. So even though it's never explained how Santa got in, we realize that that doesn't matter.
What is important is, well, we lost you tonight, and we were all very, very worried about you. And now we've got you back, safe and sound. And we're all together for Christmas again. And if that isn't a true blue miracle, I don't know what one is.
Oscar enters and welcomes Big Bird back, but then he has to go and provoke more anxiety.
How do you think the Easter Bunny can hide all those eggs in one night?
Big Bird exits and greets everyone to a reprise of Keep Christmas With You, lyrics and all. It's just the right song on which to end, and it was so memorable that it was used as the closing number in the 1995 special Elmo Saves Christmas.
Moments, hold them very near.
Before Big Bird goes home, he and Patty stop to admire the tree that emerged out of nowhere. It's not over yet, as Susan and Gordon find that Cookie Monster has eaten their tree bare. At least they won't have to sweep up any needles. What can I say? This whole thing is sweeter than a plate of Christmas cookies.
What could possibly compare to cookies? Heresy!
Well, no offense, Cookie, but I have to say you are a bit obsessive when it comes to cookies.
You do videos about kids' game shows and you call me obsessive?
Okay, good point. Perhaps I should use a different simile. This show is sweeter than a cup of eggnog. How do you like that?
That's fine with me. Me not eggnog monster. Me not your parents.
That was below the belt, Cookie. As I was saying before rudely interrupted, there are plenty of the heartwarming bits you would expect in a Christmas special, and they all suit the show and the characters perfectly. They're not just acting nicer than usual because it's Christmas, they're behaving just as we would expect them to at this time of year, and that's what makes this special so genuine. While the plot does drag on at times with the long opening and the interviews with children, the sincere sentiment is what makes this, if not Sesame Street's finest hour, at least very close to the top of the Christmas tree.
Yes, keep Christmas with you.
have a whole other special to review, and, well, what's Christmas dinner without a turkey? A special Sesame Street Christmas aired on CBS December 8, 1978, 5 days after Christmas Eve on Sesame Street. This was the same network that aired the Star Wars Holiday Special the previous month. So compared to that, this one only looks slightly more watchable. While Christmas Eve on Sesame Street was released on home video a few times, a special Sesame Street Christmas didn't get an official video release until 2012. Until then, we had to pass around the tapes.
You got the cash?
Yes, I do. Thanks, but don't burn me this time. Last time you said it would be a first-generation copy with original ads, and I got a fourth-generation copy with the ads cut out.
You want quality? You go to 5th Avenue.
If the FBI is watching, I'm not Tony DuMont, I'm John Brown Smith Jones Shackelford. Part of the reason why this special hasn't endured is because it wasn't made by Children's Television Workshop, Jim Henson, John Stone, or any other of Sesame Street's original creators. This special was produced by Bob Banner Associates, who had given us Perry Como and Carol Burnett specials, with teleplay by Tom Dunsmuir, who had written episodes of Three's Company and Good Times, and directed by Russ Petranto, a former Sanford and Son director. So the whole thing comes across as a cheesy 70s sitcom-based variety special that just so happens to take place on Sesame Street. CTW's then Vice President, Paul Furstenberg, okayed the special because he thought that if 2 Sesame Street Christmas specials came out that month, at least one would be a hit. Sound reasoning, right?
Ding dong, you're wrong.
It begins innocuously enough, until the voiceover comes in.
Merry Christmas, everybody. This is Leslie Uggams. You're looking at Sesame Street, and yes, it's the Christmas season.
Like we couldn't have figured it out already. Leslie Uggams, for those who don't know, which is probably a lot of us, is a Tony-winning theater star, best known for her unique rendition of June is Bustin' Out All Over. Oscar reluctantly opens the show and introduces the guest stars who, like Leslie, did not actually appear on the Sesame Street series.
And that bitch Anne Murray, too. We'll also celebrate the holidays with Imogene Coca.
Couldn't they have edited it so it doesn't look like a voiceover? Considering the person speaking is clearly visible, it just doesn't look right. And of course the Muppets! Well, only 3 of them, some human cast members, and some completely unfamiliar people who seem to drop by. We open with the humans singing Deck the Halls as they decorate a tree. But Oscar has to get in the way.
You know what the nicest thing about this tree is?
Yeah, in a couple of weeks it'll be laying out in the street waiting to be picked up by the trash truck.
You really couldn't do a retake?
You're wrong, Oscar. The nicest thing about this tree is that it's a living tree, and we're gonna plant it in the ground.
No, you mean it's not gonna lose all its needles, turn brown, and end up looking like a skeleton?
No, Oscar, it's gonna be just as green and healthy next Christmas as you are.
Still no retake? Oscar offers a decoration, an old shoe. Big Bird enters singing Winter Wonderland, having bought Leslie's present. Why they let him do the shopping, and why he's using a sled instead of a wagon, I don't know. Leslie comes by with the star, no subtlety here, and Oscar razzes her.
I just want to tell you, Miss Uggams, that I never miss any of your shows.
Oh, thank you, Oscar.
I never see any of your shows, so I never miss them.
Yeah, you really walked into that one.
Bob gives Leslie her gift, which isn't such a hit. You'd think they'd have given her a fruitcake or a pair of socks or something like that. This sets up the first real musical number, It's the Thought That Counts, where each verse is about how a loved one from someplace gave them some piece of junk as a gift. I like the idea, but the lyrics are rather clunky.
My grandma Juanita, who comes from San Juan, made me some gloves I'm sure I'll never get on.
My dear Aunt Nellie from East St. Paul thinks I've grown to be 9 feet tall.
And that overhead shot just doesn't do them any favors.
I got a brand new portable TV from my Uncle Louie who lives in Tennessee.
Wow, that's sure
Yeah, and you know the best thing about it?
What?
It was broken in shipment.
Wouldn't Oscar rather have a gift that was already broken before it got shipped? Bob, David, and Leslie's shoveling efforts are foiled by a snowplow, so they send for Barkley, the only Muppet in this special aside from Big Bird and Oscar, who fling snow everywhere, and that's all he does here. He doesn't show up until the end. Also, he's taller than the Barkley the regular show had. Oscar offers them hot cocoa to warm up, but knowing his penchant for pranks, he'll be serving them mud, right?
Oh, Oscar, this is ice-cold lemonade.
Which the grown-ups could somehow not identify at the outset. You could have done better, Oscar. Leslie stays behind to have a word with Oscar about the joys of Christmas. Begin the second musical number, where they sing about what the season means to each of them.
Country roads with tractor plows.
Icy fields with shivering cows.
Morning windows twinkling with frost.
Buying snow tires at the high cost.
You know what Santa should have given this show? Better lyrics, among other things.
Christmas cards from old and dear friends.
Christmas bills that give you the bends.
No. Christmas bills are not the cause of the bends. The bends, or decompression sickness, results from nitrogen bubbles forming in the body's water due to pressure, then being released too quickly, such as when divers stay underwater too long and surface too soon. So while Christmas bills are a bother, there is no scientific connection at all between them and the bends. Maria comes to a dispirited Leslie, having found a wounded alley cat.
I think I have the perfect name for him. Why don't we call him Tiny Tim?
Because of his broken leg? Isn't that a bit, I don't know, insensitive toward the differently abled? And Hoopers must be out of cat food, so they ask Oscar for scraps. Really? But Oscar happens to have a vendetta against Tiny Tim.
Oh, Oscar, come on. You must have something in that can for Tiny.
Nah, just a lot of yucky Christmas trash.
Oscar, I've never heard you badmouth trash before.
Apparently, Oscar's all-encompassing love of trash, which literally extends to rusty trombones, does not include Christmas-related garbage, leading to his version of the 12 Days of Christmas. Sure, Oscar hates Christmas, but you'd think at least he'd enjoy all the discarded packaging. This is completely out of character, which shows what happens when you have an outsider write your show's special.
Stale popcorn on a long string.
Leslie decides to turn this whole event into another Christmas Carol imitation. Not a bad idea. There was a direct-to-video Sesame Street Christmas Carol in 2006, but as we are about to see, this is just handled badly. Leslie uses the trash to make a Ghost of Christmas Past outfit, and Anne Murray walks in. Oscar gave her a Santa doll, apparently because she sang to him, and Big Bird prods her into serenading him too. You know how kids get when only one of them gets a treat. And she sings, "You Needed Me." A sweet tune alright, but it doesn't quite belong here because, well, it has nothing to do with Christmas. Then we find out that the Santa Oscar gave her was really a trick.
I'm the happy Christmas Santa you love to hug.
Once again.
Booey and baloney and bah humbug.
We're not surprised.
This is the life. Peace and quiet in a container of spinach yogurt.
And the writers thought that would be unappetizing. I guess they never had Middle Eastern food before. And the costume Leslie made will not be seen on the catwalks of Milan anytime soon.
Please sell before July 1975. I guess old yogurt can play funny tricks on you.
Oh great, another flubbed line they couldn't edit out. Anne comes back as the ghost of heavy Canadian accents, Christmas past, who sends Oscar on a trip down memory lane via a magic eggnog container.
Yes, but this is a magic eggnog container.
Yes, a magic eggnog container. As Leslie sings the next number, Look at How Fast We Forget, the adults reenact Oscar's childhood. The song barely mentions Christmas. It's about how Oscar used to be cheery and pleasant before he became the grouch he is today. Not only are the music and vocals a bit irritating, this is clearly not Oscar's backstory. Plus, is David really dressed like a pimp? And did they have to make Bob McGrath a cop? 2 stereotypes, 3 if you count an African-American caretaker. That's too many. The plan fails because if you're going to recreate someone's past, You have to do the research.
I got it all wrong, eh?
Oscar replies with one of his own tunes, his version of Yakety Yak, another song with no connection to Christmas, with lyrics retooled for grouches. You forgot to change that line, Oscar. What's with that look? This is way more entertaining than the last number, guys. That's how a punk rock concert should end. The next day, Oscar reads the paper, full of jokes that fail to land.
History has made us. First Grouch lands on Moon. His message to the world after settling down on the lunar surface was, what a crummy place.
Leslie sings Look at That Face from the newly Bercuse musical The Roar of the Grease Paint, The Smell of the Crowd to Oscar. There's really no reason for her to be singing this, as if she's fallen for the guy who's been nothing but a jerk to her, and it just takes up the special's time. Plus, suffice it to say,
This song has nothing to do with Christmas!
Cue the ghost of Christmas Present, played by Imogene Coca, who is absent from the planning stages of this conspiracy. She starts with a shouting match with Oscar before launching into the next musical bit, Christmas Morning, where everyone acts like Oscar's not around.
Oscar's left us, he's gone on the run. But what the heck, he's not any fun.
And amidst this passive aggressiveness toward Oscar, everyone else, including Henry Fonda in a rather unnecessary cameo, talks about what Christmas means to them. Mostly about presents.
Christmas is more than the big presents under the tree. It's a nice little present you find stuck way down the toe of your Christmas stocking.
Christmas is when the same right-wing pundits who oppose same-sex marriage and equal pay for women complain that they're being persecuted because a storefront says season's greetings.
Christmas is still being in my bathrobe at 11 o'clock in the morning, sitting in my easy chair. Attach Part C to Part B, being sure to use 3/4-inch wing nut. What 3/4-inch wing nut?
Christmas is when the trash collectors stop rattling the cans and the mail collectors stop tearing your letters, and you realize it's only because they want a tip. Just like how kids who never behave the rest of the year finally do.
Christmas is your next-door neighbor trying out his new snowblower while you're trying out your new stereo.
Christmas is finally getting around to seeing A Christmas Story and finding out how little plot this movie actually has. I want a BB gun, you'll shoot your eye out. He gets one and does, oh, not really, the end.
Christmas is waking up real early. Talking loud so that your parents don't oversleep, like past 6.
Christmas is getting a wonderful phone call from someone you love and not even caring that it comes just as you're sitting down to dinner.
Christmas is getting the chance to see all your distant relatives, and after they criticize your career and or marital status, you decide that once a year is more than enough. What about love, kindness, and goodwill? Christmas Eve on Sesame Street had plenty of that, with Big Bird braving the cold to ensure that everyone would receive their gifts, Bert and Ernie sacrificing their prized possessions for each other, and Linda giving Bob a nice surprise. There is nothing like that in this special.
Christmas is licking the frosting off a cookie, then putting it back on the plate without anybody seeing it.
Oh, great! Now me lost me appetite for cookies! This is unforgivable!
Imogene offers Oscar a fish, but he refuses, until she decides to give it to Tiny Tim instead.
Gimme!
That's mean, even by Oscar's standards. Then Ethel Merman appears for the sake of even more cameos.
Hi, Leslie. Merry Christmas. Imogene, what's the matter? You look like an idiot.
That's perhaps the only time on this show someone is in character. Everyone is down, but Ethel boosts their spirits with a pep talk and a performance of Tomorrow from Annie.
Tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun.
I know Ethel was famous for belting big ballads, but this one really isn't her style. Also, might I add,
this song has nothing to do with Christmas.
And did Ethel just forget a line? I guess they spent so much on guest stars and the rights to show tunes that they couldn't afford a second take. She just flubbed another line! At the risk of getting blacklisted from every gay bar in the greater New York area, I must say I am disappointed in you, Ethel. Then Michael Jackson appears just to hand Oscar a book about ghosts. With this in the intro, he has less than 1 minute of screen time. No singing, no dancing, and worse, as I've said before, it wasn't the only pointless cameo in this special. Still, it was enough to justify his inclusion on the DVD cover. Then comes the Ghost of Christmas Future, played by Dick Smothers, the lesser Smothers brother. How he was drawn into this mass deception is unclear.
Come on, Oscar, you know I'm the Ghost of Christmas Future. I mean, when's the last time you saw an outfit like this, huh?
Probably a cheesy old outer space movie. Dick tells Oscar that everyone moved away because they got sick of him, suggesting that the cat died because nobody could believe in him.
Oscar, if there's just one person who believes in you deep enough and strong enough, and believes in you hard enough and long enough.
And this waxing lyrical should be a clue to the next musical number. Tiny Tim suddenly appears next to Oscar's can, and Oscar decides to take care of him. And the cat looks completely disinterested. And who can blame him? It's not like Oscar isn't a pet person. On the series he has plenty of tender moments with his worms and elephants, but cats? It's even more egregious when you realize this cat was never seen again after this special.
Say, how is your leg there, huh? I'd be happy to autograph your cast. I know just what I'd write on it. Merry Christmas, Tiny. Love, Oscar. Did I say that?
Our thoughts too. You might have guessed the next song, Just One Person, from Snoopy the Musical. I know this song was a favorite of Jim Henson's. It was performed by the Muppets and even sung at Henson's memorial service. And it is a very nice song, but it's really not necessary here, nor is this such a great arrangement.
This song has nothing to do with Christmas.
So it ends with Oscar taking in Tiny Tim and everyone wishing him a Merry Christmas, and Oscar doing the same, followed by a medley of Christmas songs with the cast, Ethel and Barkley.
Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for
Did Leslie stumble on weather?
He sings a love song.
I have nothing against Ethel singing Winter Wonderland, but having Oscar join in is again uncharacteristic. And after all that fuss about a living tree, they apparently cut it down and moved it. The DVD release and CD soundtrack, yes, they released a soundtrack, continues to milk Michael Jackson's all-too-brief appearance by throwing in a techno remix of his lines, accompanied by a very cheaply made video they could have put together on their computer in an hour. And as if to correct the ratio of Christmas songs to non-Christmas songs, they throw in Angels We Have Heard on High, We Three Kings, and Jingle Bells, performed by the Merry Mistletoes. Not only do these songs sound completely inane, but on the DVD menu, they misspell mistletoe and holiday. 2 typos in one menu. I've seen bootlegs that were more accurate. Sorry, FBI. Anyway, these tracks could have really been done without, much like the entire special. I would only recommend a special Sesame Street Christmas to die-hard Muppet or Sesame Street fans, because it's really a lump of coal in our Christmas stocking. It's not faithful to Sesame Street and its characters, nor is it to the Christmas spirit. The song selection is wrong, the production values are lacking, it's really fit for a grouch. When it comes to which special is better, no contest here. Christmas Eve on Sesame Street had fewer songs and no guest stars, but it didn't need that. It had heart and emotional depth. That's why this one remains a classic, while the other, well, look how fast we forgot it. Blah! Not everybody hated a special Sesame Street Christmas. It was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Children's Program. I figure Bob Banner had some pictures of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences in a compromising position. However, it lost to Christmas Eve on Sesame Street. So there is some justice in this world, and if that isn't a true blue miracle, I don't know what one is. This is Tony DuMont saying season's greetings and a Happy New Year! And I'll be spending the holidays with the ones I love most. If only you knew what I did to get you.
Feelings feel so wonderful, you have to let them show. Maybe that's why everyone begins to get aglow and fill their hearts with Christmas spirit they can share. That's the best part.
true blue miracle, I don't know what one is. And if that isn't a true blue miracle, I don't know what one is.